Hey YouTube, it's Mark.
And Rocky.
And we are
This Cruise Life.
We are coming to you from the beautiful Norwegian Getaway in a very special spot.
Yes, we are in the ice bar. Oh gosh, it is so chilly in here.
It is so cold. We have spent the last week on board and we have experienced everything. The drinks, the food, the entertainment. And so we're going to tell you everything that we loved.
What we didn't love.
And what we hated. So stick around. In true This Cruise Life fashion, we're going to start with all that we loved about the food. And the included food, let's start there. That buffet is massive. It wraps all the way around the ship. They've got a build your own pasta station, which I enjoyed. And they've got plenty of Indian food. They even had Indian breakfast items, which was amazing.
And speaking of the breakfast, there was also some really good omelet stations. Never a wait, which was fantastic. And there was also some really good ice cream and soft serve selections available throughout the buffet. Really enjoyed that. Now, stick around to the video for what we didn't love about the buffet.
Okay, speaking of other included food options, the dining room for lunch, it was super relaxed and it had such an extensive menu.
And O'Sheehan's Bar and Grill was fantastic. Now, on this ship, it is O'Sheehan's, which is the local if you've sailed any other Norwegian ship. And it was great. They had service 24/7. I loved getting the fish and chips, the Reuben. Just really good food there.
Okay, I'm torn. Would you recommend that they go to the dining room for lunch or O'Sheehan's for lunch? Speaking of that dining room, also for dinner, the spaghetti puttanesca was honestly one of the best dinner items I have had in a long time. We love that dining room service and we love the menu variety.
Yeah, it was good. And last thing that I'll mention about the included dining was American Diner. They used the pager system, which was super convenient and easy. We were able to go to another spot and wait for our pager to go off.
And that's the only thing we'll mention that we loved about American Diner.
Now let's talk about the specialty dining on board Norwegian Getaway. And beginning with the reservation process, they actually set up the Comedy Club and Le Bistro to be your central locations where you can go on embark day to set up your reservations for the whole week. That was great.
Now, I was nervous under the new More at Sea, where more cruisers get more specialty dining. Would we be able to get reservations? We didn't have a single issue all week. Cruise tip, go on embark day where they set up those special places to make your reservations and get your prime spots for specialty dining.
That was great. We actually ended up going to the teppanyaki on board, and the show part of teppanyaki was fantastic. We had so much fun with our chef and everyone else that we were sitting with. Now, what I will say is the teriyaki tofu was probably our favorite bite that we had there.
By a mile.
The rest of the food was okay. It was your standard teppanyaki fare, which was all right. Unfortunately, the dessert missed the mark by a mile. We did not enjoy the dessert at teppanyaki.
Skip those. Speaking of specialty dining, the Moderno churrascaria was phenomenal. That salad bar, that 43 item salad bar, oh my gosh, it was probably my favorite food on board the ship. And so if you're like, which specialty dining should I go to? Go here. They also bring the meats to the table and they carve them tableside. Now, some of the meat was dry and overcooked, unfortunately, but overall, that experience was my favorite on board.
We absolutely loved the sushi on that salad bar. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
But one tip that we do have to share is skip the caprihina. That was not our favorite drink.
It was terrible. The last specialty dining that we did was La Cucina. Oh my gosh, we loved it on NCL Sky, if you remember that. It was good, but oddly, it wasn't as good as it was on NCL Sky. That blew my mind.
Right.
But it's still miles better than Onda by Scarpetta. Okay, so that is everything about the food we loved on board Norwegian Getaway. Let's now talk about the drinks.
Starting with our favorite drink on board a Norwegian cruise, and that is the Irish coffee at O'Sheehan's. So good. Every time we went there, we always had a really good Irish coffee. Always enjoyed that.
And I love my Norwegian 66 gin. It is time to try my favorite drink on board a Norwegian cruise line ship, and that is their 66 by Norwegian gin. Oh my gosh, I had plenty of it, and it's now included under More at Sea. In fact, I love all of the additional inclusions under More at Sea.
There is a Starbucks on board. It's not included in your drinks package, but if you need your Starbucks fix, you know that you have a place to go and there's never a line.
Yep.
And cruise tip, if you're looking for a place to get a quick drink at night, head to the Prime Meridian Bar. It's at the after the ship between Cagney's and Moderno. Oh, it was so good. Loved the service back there.
Until about 10 p.m. is when they shut
close.
down. And the final thing that I want to mention about the drinks that we absolutely loved was the Sky vodka ice bar. It was such a cool
It was
experience.
such a cool experience.
Literally. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
The ice glasses that they gave us, there was a selection of 4 different drinks you could get, 3 of them alcoholic. Such a cool space,
S-
literally.
So many photo opportunities for you to take your selfies. There's an ice wall, there's an ice bar. It was awesome. Now, it does cost a little bit extra to get into there, but they give you the big wool coat and the hoods
And
and
the
the
gloves.
gloves. Loved that. Okay, so we loved a lot about the drinks under more at sea. Now let's talk about the shipboard entertainment.
There was some great entertainment on board Norwegian Getaway, starting with the Broadway Unplugged show. We had so much fun at this show that we actually went back when it played again later in the cruise.
It was amazing.
Don't miss it. And also the ropes course. We try to do a ropes course whenever we find one on a cruise ship, and this was no exception. We got to see Sail Away from Roatan on that ropes course, and it was sunset. It was just the perfect trio of things happening at once.
I wish we could have taken pictures up there for you because it was unbelievably gorgeous.
It was.
I loved the ABBA hour in the nightclub. I've loved this on every ship that's had it, and it was so much fun. Speaking of that nightclub, there were several nights that we shut the nightclub down. Bliss was so much fun this sailing. They played music that we wanted to dance to. It was just, it was a blast. And we were tired several mornings because of you, Bliss.
We also went to the Not So Newlywed game. I remember enjoying this on the Sky, and I'm glad to see it on the Getaway.
Yep.
And then also the Q&A with the officers. I always enjoy going to those types of events, and this was also really fun. We also really enjoyed the LGBTQ plus gathering that happened at the Sugarcane Mojito Bar. We made some really good friends. We had such a great time, kept seeing everyone multiple times throughout the cruise. Thanks for enjoying some Gin 66 with us.
We loved it so much we missed dinner the first night.
True.
Okay, speed trivia was a blast. Whether you were down there in the atrium or watching it from Ocean's up above, tons of fun. They have bowling lanes on board. I watched people bowl during the cruise.
So
That was
fun.
so much fun. When you come back from ports, there's a big party. They celebrate. Look at this. How much fun is this? And they give you those, remember, they give you those cool
Oh, those were
towels
nice.
so you can wipe off after you come back all sweaty and full of sunscreen from port.
Yeah.
Loved that.
Yes. We're very sad that the Illusionarium is no longer in use on the ship, but instead they do games and other activities inside the space, so that made it pretty nice.
It's such a cool space.
It is. I love the design and just the theme of that spot.
So cool. Now, they did have a $1 Million Quartet on board, which was okay.
I'm glad to say that we've seen it.
I can check. It was no Choir of Man, though, like I saw on Encore. Loved that show. But I'm glad that we had a chance to see a stage show.
Lastly, let's talk about the spa. Now, the spa was beautiful. It was gorgeous, that entire front end of the ship. Gorgeous spaces, loved the views. However, there was nothing included for us to be able to enjoy. So we
Ooh.
still loved the space, even though we didn't really pay to go use it.
So for those of you that might want some spa treatments, it's a beautiful space
It
for you.
is.
Okay, that's everything about the entertainment. Let's talk about the design of the ship.
Yeah.
I love that wraparound deck of the waterfront where you can go in and take in the views of Sail Away. We actually went out there several nights. We sat out there and had conversations and drinks out on the waterfront. Loved this space on the ship.
It was great. And the art across the ship was beautiful. I really enjoyed that, especially this awesome butterfly wall. Oh my gosh, check this out. And then the gym. The gym was huge. There was so much equipment in there, and there was a lot of cardio equipment. And with it being January, we were expecting there to be a lot of people in there for their New Year's resolutions, and there wasn't.
Kind of had the gym to ourselves, which we loved.
Yeah.
I loved how less crowded the hallways felt as you walked up and down the ship. When we were on Encore, that was one of my complaints. Now, it could have been that they were selling all of their Alaska wares and t-shirts and coffee mugs, but it was that main walkway was so much less crowded, as was the casino. This was so much more open. Speaking of so much more open, same is true with the top decks.
Oh, yeah.
Ripping out that racetrack opened up that top deck so much more. Honestly, I think the Getaway has way more usable open space than the Encore did.
Yeah, so strange. And then also back to the design, when
Yep.
you were at that, not really the atrium, but that space that spanned from deck 6 through 8 over by Sugarcane Mojito Bar, loved that chandelier that hung down and it changed colors throughout the day. Overall, it was a beautiful space. And I don't know why that isn't the atrium.
Great question. Also, that was even nicer than the Encore. So there were
Oh.
several things from Getaway that were nicer than the Encore, which I love.
The water park on board the Norwegian Getaway is massive. There are some amazing slides. We didn't do any because it was a little too chilly, but loved the fact that there's actually a little kids pool area that keeps all the kids separated out. They can do their own splash pads and all of that fun stuff, which was great. And when we embarked the ship on the first day, they directed us right to our muster stations and got that out of the way so we could begin our cruise vacation.
Which we absolutely love.
Yes.
And remember this cruise tip, there are fish embedded in the carpet. The fish always swim to the forward of the ship. So when you get into those long hallways and you're like, which way do I go? Just look which way the fish are swimming. That will always help you navigate the ship.
That's cool.
And I love that they've got a separate cigar smoking lounge on these ships. It gives a place inside for smokers to go. And what I absolutely love about it is that it is enclosed so well. You very rarely have any smoke in the bar area or the outside area. Loved that.
The internet worked flawlessly. Compared to our experience on the Norwegian Sky, this was fantastic.
Yeah.
We had no issues with the internet over the entire sailing.
Now, it is still those minutes-based plans, so just keep that in mind. And the last thing I will mention is debark. We loved the debark process. From the time we stepped off of the ship until the time we were in the city of New Orleans, it was 15 minutes flat. Great job, New Orleans, and great job, Norwegian Getaway.
The last thing I want to mention is the friends that we met on board this ship. We had such a great time getting to meet each one of you and sail and just have a great experience. And we look forward to seeing you out on the ocean with us again in a future sailing.
And to our friend Brian, who sailed with us, we had an absolute blast, and I hope you created memories that will last a lifetime.
Well, that's everything that we loved about our experience on Norwegian Getaway. Stay tuned for what we didn't love next.
While there was a lot to love about our time, there was also some things that we didn't love, starting with the single-use items. This is something that we've commented on with Norwegian in the past, from single-use pieces of paper that they handed us right away when we got on to tell us where our muster station was, to single-use cups, to single-use plastics, to single-use pretty much everything around the ship. We do hope that that is something that they can address in the future.
Yeah. And then the buffet was just kind of bland food throughout. It wasn't the whole buffet, but there were some areas where we just didn't enjoy some of those dishes.
Look at this oh my gosh, look at these.
The hollandaise. Oh, yeah, not so great.
Not great.
And then American Diner. What a disappointment. I was really looking forward to this dining venue on board, and I really did not enjoy the food there.
No, remember those appetizers?
Oh, the appetizers were not good.
They were so sad. Look at your fish.
Oh, and the nachos were a sad excuse for nachos.
I mean, just bad food.
It was.
Speaking of things that we didn't love the size of some of the public venues on board, like the comedy club. I mean, there were several times that we just didn't go. We looked in and we're like, it was standing room only.
Yeah.
There were several complaints on the Facebook group. You couldn't get into Sid Norman's. Like, I mean, there was just, the spaces were small for some of the events that they hosted.
Speaking of small spaces on the ship, the upper deck was really challenging for us to find any place to lay out. We had to walk the ship multiple times to wait for some chairs to clear up.
Still much better than the Encore, but yeah, this is common with this class. There's not a ton of space to lay out. We did eventually find some stuff in the shade.
Brr.
And one of the things that we didn't love is there were minimal crew interactions. Now, part of that is everyone on board has more at sea, so everyone has the drinks package. Those bartenders are slammed. So it's not like they're taking the time to talk to you or get to know you as they are on some other lines. Made good drinks, but you definitely could tell that they're there to do a job and you really don't get to interact. In fact, some of the bars borderline hated. Some of the bars you couldn't even get a drink.
No.
I mean, you would wait 20 minutes and you might have your drink in that time. So there were some bars we would just skip across our sailing.
Remember our cruise tip to swing by Prime Meridian Bar if you're looking for that quick drink that you need to get in the evening hours.
Absolutely.
And in the mornings, that bing bong noise for the announcements was loud. Oh my gosh, it woke us up several times when we were docking the ship and we would hear that. Didn't love that.
No, we never do. Speaking of that stateroom, and this was a big didn't love for me, there was no fitted sheet on the bed. So every morning you would wake up and your
Ugh.
arms would be on the mattress
Gosh,
protector
that's
that was
gross.
kind of yellowed. Oh, it was just, oh, that always made me feel gross. I always had to shower in the morning. Oh,
And then Shanghai Noodle Bar. It was a cool concept
yeah.
on paper, and we were really excited to check it out. However, the food there was not the greatest. The appetizers were kind of the star of the show here,
Yes.
but when it came time for the entrees, not good.
Oh.
Those noodle dishes were not flavorful. They didn't really,
And everyone around us agreed. Everyone
yeah,
around
it
us was
was,
like, this isn't very good food.
no.
And for some reason,
Hmm.
they don't use the pagers that we
No,
loved at
no.
American Diner.
You have to stand there and wait with all these other people for them to call your name.
Mark,
What?
Mark, it was just,
What?
it was, and it's that hallway between the casino and the aft of the
Yeah.
ship. And so it's just, did not love that
No.
at all.
The atrium was just bland and boring. It was overwhelmed with all the other different desks for shore excursions and guest services and photos and everything else. Didn't love that.
I will tell you, the Encore changes or the Breakaway Plus changes absolutely were so much better. Removing all of those desks and chaos in there, that atrium, yeah, didn't love.
No.
Speaking of spaces that I didn't love on board, the jogging track, it
What a
was
sad jogging track.
it was the main walkway on the top deck that they just painted as a jogging track. There was literally no jogging going on. There wasn't even walking going on.
couldn't.
You couldn't. Like, I mean, they have a jogging track, but they really don't.
You're better off going to the gym and using a treadmill.
Absolutely.
And something that we were not expecting was Harvest Your Money K. This private destination that Norwegian has developed was not fun. They had some nice loungers and it was a beautiful beach, but everything that you can and may want to do is going to cost you money.
Want a Red Bull? $8.31.
And they don't accept your ship card at most of these vendors.
Yeah, oh, they'll take Visa and MasterCard.
Yeah, or cash.
There were, the zip line was a charge.
Yes.
The shoe rental was a charge. If you have flip-flops, you have to rent shoes.
And then you have to rent a locker to put your sandals in if that's what you want.
I mean, everything was, oh, want an umbrella? That's a charge. Snorkels? That's a charge. Fins? That's a charge. Everything was, and the restaurant pricing
No.
was not good. I
No.
mean, if you wanted food, any food on their private destination, it was all pay.
Yes. Very different experience than Great Stirrup Cay,
Oh,
we'll say that.
Can we please go to Great Stirrup on our next sailing?
Yes, please. Being that there's only 2 stairwells on the entire ship, they only open up one of them for embark and debark in a port. In this case, it was always the forward gangways, and that created a lot of congestion. We're used to other cruise lines where they can use a forward and a mid, or one of the variations
Yeah.
where you can spread people out and get them on and off the ship. Didn't love that.
Didn't love that. No. Speaking of things that I didn't love about our time on Norwegian Getaway, we had multiple time changes. We would change an hour ahead, and then the next night change an hour back, and then the next night change an hour ahead, and then the next night change an hour back. It was so weird.
Yeah.
Change the time once if you're going to change the time to be on local time. Change that time once and change it back later on in the cruise. Don't keep going back and forth. There are all of these little single-use pieces of paper all over the place saying, oh, time change. I didn't love that.
No. And finally, something that I didn't love was the list of exclusions under More at Sea.
Oh my
There were so many things, and this is a borderline hated because as we got our menus and looked at everything, you're trying to figure out what you want, and you realize that, oh, it's only this little portion that's included, and everything else is an upcharge. Didn't love that.
Their new connoisseur collection that they introduced with
Yeah.
More at Sea. There's a lot of connoisseurs out there. I also didn't love, and this is a nit for me, I realize, but I didn't love the only Norwegian Getaway t-shirt. It was in this t-shirt and hat combo. That was the only Norwegian Getaway branded clothing item. The gal at the register, she was like, yeah, we just don't have anything on this ship. And so I had to buy it for you and for this video, but didn't love that they didn't have more options.
Now let's talk about the things that you may want to be aware of if you're going to be setting sail on the Norwegian Getaway.
One of those things to be aware of is that your steward is going to unplug all of your devices when they come in and service the room. So if you're charging your cell phone, sorry, you're going to have to remember to plug it in once you come back to that stateroom.
I wish that the bars had different menus across the ship. I think with More at Sea, they're really banking on you call it for your
Yes.
drinks versus ordering something that's already been predetermined on the menus. Just something to be aware of. If you like something specific, be ready to order it.
Yep.
And Spice H2O. It's a cool space, and I love that they have an adults-only area.
Yes.
But it's only for specific hours, which was kind of strange and something you have to be aware of. And then when they have their deck parties during the sailing, those deck parties are going to be back in Spice H2O.
Because of how small that pool space
Correct.
is.
So when you head back there, you're just going to want to be aware of that. The nice thing is they did bring in a portable bar to
Yeah.
help alleviate some of that congestion, but just something to be aware of with Spice H2O.
It was packed.
Yes.
Like Encore, this was the smallest interior stateroom we have ever stayed in. It was tiny, and we stored some of our stuff in the bathroom, y'all. So just keep that in mind. And lastly, what I'll mention is there are only 2 sets of elevators on the ship. There's the forward and the aft elevators, making for really long hallways. Now, it didn't impact us, but do be aware if you have some mobility issues, pick your stateroom accordingly.
And it didn't feel like the forward was actually forward either.
No, it felt like
It
the
was like
forward was like a
mid.
mid stairwell. It was long hallways.
Well, that's all that we loved and didn't love about the Norwegian Getaway. Let's talk about what we hated.
Now, the hated list isn't all that large, but there were some things that absolutely had an impact on our sailing. Starting with the Norwegian updated app. While it's mostly better, what did they do to the Freestyle Daily? They took a usable app and made it absolutely a joke. You have to pinch zoom in on a PDF to see the events. There's no way to like things or say what you're going to. It is absolutely, I have no idea who at headquarters was like, yeah, this is a good design. This is a good idea. Let's make it completely unusable to find out what's going on board. Absolutely hated the changes to the app. Oh, and they killed the chat as well.
Oh, yeah.
So no longer can you chat in the app. You have to use those minutes-based internet plans.
And
Sorry.
we almost missed,
Hated.
because of that change, we almost missed the Latitudes Welcome Back party. We decided to go and check it out. We're like, yeah, we like that when other cruise lines host these events. We hated how this was hosted. We went back to the restaurant where it was hosted in. We got to see some of the officers as we entered, and then we were served different
2
cheeses.
saltine crackers,
Yes.
and 2 cubes of cheese.
And 1 drink of choice that was on their tray.
This is for your loyal cruisers?
This is not how you welcome back your cruisers.
2 saltine crackers? Does every ship in the fleet get 1 sleeve of saltines for their cruiser? Like, what?
Yeah.
Hated that.
Hated that.
And speaking something that I hated, and I hope this was just an anomaly because I loved it on Encore, but the pizza was terrible. Look at this pizza. It was not good.
It was not good at all. And then getting around the ship, we've talked about some of the challenges there, but let's talk about those hallways to get to your stateroom cabin.
These hallways?
They were so tiny. There was no way that 2 people could pass at the same time. You would have to go into the spot where the doors were for the cabins. If the room stewards were out cleaning cabins, they had to move their stuff tight against the wall, and you'd have to use that alcove. Yeah. It was a mess. They tried to cram way too much into such a small space. Yeah. Hated those hallways.
Something else that I really hated, and this was a pretty big deal, all of the bugs that were in O'Sheehan's men's restroom.
Where did they come from?
There were, I'm not even exaggerating, I counted one night, 24 little gnats all flying around above the urinals and toilet. It was absolutely disgusting, to the point that I went to guest services and I said, hey, y'all, I want to let you know about this because we're definitely going to talk about this in our full review. Hated that.
Yeah. And the last thing that I'll mention in the hated section was the Bliss nightclub. We loved the space. Don't get me wrong. We loved the music and everything else. However, the lack of enforcement of their policies was lackluster. We hated this. No drinks allowed on the dance floor, yet people still did it. Anytime something was spilled, they would shut down the dance floor. All the lights of the house would come on, and it would be quiet for 15 minutes while they brought in the crew to clean up the mess.
It was so stupid.
Just enforce it from the beginning.
Well, enforcing it would require security to be in the nightclub. Once again, just like Norwegian Sky, a fight broke out, and there was no security to be found in the nightclub. I don't understand. Where is the security on the ship at 1 a.m. when people are drinking and partying? Compare that. I just got off Carnival Radiance. There were 4 security guards stationed around the nightclub just watching everything that was going on and enforcing the rules. Norwegian, where is your security? It's something that they absolutely have to address.
I agree. Well, that is our short list of what we hated about our time on the Norwegian Getaway. Let's talk about our overall experience.
Yes.
There was a lot that we loved about our time on the Norwegian Getaway. Mark, I'm curious on what you thought of the experience and what you rate the
Yeah.
ship.
Overall, I mean, I loved it. I had a blast. I enjoyed the food. I enjoyed the drinks. I enjoyed the entertainment. Yes, there were some things that I didn't love and some things that we absolutely hated, but they didn't really impact the cruise in a significant way. I would give the Norwegian Getaway a 4 solid ship rating. I loved my time on board.
I will say that this is probably one of the few times that Mark's rating is actually higher than my rating. Overall, my experience was good. It wasn't anything exceptional. Nothing really stood out as being over the top exciting. Did I have a good cruise? I did, and I'm not saying that you should avoid the getaway by any means, but my overall rating is 3.5 ships out of 5.
For me alone, Moderno,
That
that
was great.
Brazilian steakhouse, I loved that. My Norwegian 66 gin, Bliss, the nightclub. Yeah, yes, there were things that we hated about that experience.
Yes.
Overall, I really like the Breakaway Plus-class trips. Maybe mine was influenced by my time on Encore, but I loved the Norwegian Getaway, and I think you will enjoy your cruise on this ship.
Absolutely. Now, the cool thing is, 2025 is the year of Norwegian for Mark and myself. So you're going to see a lot more of these videos coming to the channel from the Norwegian Prima, the Norwegian Aqua, the brand new ship.
Yep.
We've got the Norwegian Epic as well.
Don't forget the Joy.
And the Joy going to Alaska. So we've got a lot more content coming to the channel for Norwegians. So be sure to subscribe to the channel.
And if you found something valuable in this video, or we made you smile or laugh, go ahead and hit that like button.
We'd love if you would leave your comments if you've been on board the Norwegian Getaway. Share them with us. What were your thoughts and experiences?
Yep.
We would love to hear them.
And until next time that we see you on board Norwegian or any other cruise ship, we'll see you soon.
Bye.